the email thing, which is interesting. But today, I mean, how do you control the right information or get people to the right information?
Well, it's a great question you're asking, Anthony. The issue is it's not, technology is a tool, right? It's like asking if a plow is bad, right? It's asking like, is a steam engine bad, right? It's asking if email is bad or good, right? The issue is who controls these technologies. This is a fundamental question. Who controls them? Who has access to how they're used? All right. That's the fundamental question. And what you realize is that technology does not solve human problems. In fact, it creates human problems. In fact, it helps consolidate power. So I'll give you, since we want to talk about email, let me start with the printing press. When the printing press was created, many human beings were like, awesome, we get the printing press. I could print a book, you could print a book, right? We could print flyers, we could fight those in power. However, what ended up happening over time, a very powerful technology, who ended up owning the printing presses? 4 major publishers in the United States, 4 major publishers, right? So if you wrote a great book, Anthony, and you wanted to get it out, you would then need an agent. Your agent would have to collaborate with one of those publishers. And that's how you got your word out. You can, and now you can do self-publishing, but it's a much harder model, right?
Yeah.
Now go to the internet. The internet, which was this concept of decentralized computers, right? That you could use a protocol and you could send communications, bits of information, or even go back to when Morse code was created. But we started creating electrical devices, putting wires between them, or wireless, and we could communicate. Well, when that came out, when the internet came out in 1993, I wrote a book called Arts and the Internet, because a lot of my friends are artists. And I said, wow, great, the internet is going to help all these people reduce the cost of, they won't need their agents, right? They can go direct. But what ended up happening was there was consolidation of that technology. People got lazy. They didn't want to create their own websites. Everyone created Facebook pages, created videos on YouTube, right? And what ended up happening was 4 major social media companies now control the internet because they're the gatekeepers. Now, in 1997, transitioning to email, something profound occurred. My first venture into email was inventing email as a 14-year-old kid in Newark, New Jersey, a predominantly African-American community. Okay, that's where email came out of, helping secretaries go from the typewriter to the keyboard. That's the origin of email, period. Well, so I had my experience with email from 1978 to 1993. In 1993, what people need to recognize when the World Wide Web came, email no longer was just an office application. Many people know before 93, we had emails, but there were inter-office email communications. When the web came, email went from being an office application to being a consumer application. So you had companies like Hotmail and AOL and Yahoo, right? Now, 1997 is a very important date to answer your question about technology and email, is that is the date when email volume overtook postal mail volume, okay? Email volume exceeded the amount of postal mail, snail mail. And I was running a different company. I'd won a competition to help the White House automatically analyze and route email when I was a PhD student at MIT. And I was running a company to automatically read email and route it for customer service applications. And I went to the Postal Service and I said, you know what? I said, we're in a very dangerous time. You guys, by the founders of the United States, were deemed with ensuring every American could have free speech and free reach. That means, right? That's why the Postal Service was created in 1787, that you and I could send a letter for the same amount of money. And the Postal Service was actually protected by a police force, which ensured that if I sent you a communication, Anthony, and if someone interfered, it was a 20-year sentence in prison. So the Postal Service was created by Franklin to make sure Americans could have free speech and free reach. All right. But what happened with these private companies was they had created email. And most people didn't bother reading the statements on these terms and conditions. And the terms and conditions of that were that they own your email. The Postal Service doesn't own your letters. Email volume exceeded postal mail volume. So I went to the heads of the Postal Service and I said, look, you guys must create a public version of email. that would be under the laws of the United States. If anyone
Right.
interfered, it's a 20-year sentence in prison. They said, get out of here, you little kid. Not in those words. I was 22 years old, 29
Okay.
years old. We know about the Postal Service. We're bigger than Walmart. We
Right.
don't want to be in this email business. And I
Right.
showed them that they can make a ton of money. You know, I believe Americans have paid about $20 a year to have their emails protected by the Constitution.
Yeah.
2011, Anthony, is when the Postal Service announced that's about 18 years later that they're going out of business. It was front page of the Wall Street Journal, and I gave a scathing article to Time Magazine. I said, these guys are idiots. Their job is to provide free speech, free communication platforms, right? That's what the Postal Service is. So the Inspector General of the Postal Service hired me, and I wrote commissioned me to write 2 reports, which I showed in gross detail how they could make money and protect the free speech of the American public. They didn't do anything about it. So it's not technology that's going to save the world. It's policies. It's policies. And the policies of the swarm, the policies of the Zionists are always to take any good technology and enslave people with that technology.